What? 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 What?
Are you ready to use science to bust some myths in the social media ecosystem?
Great Scott!
Welcome to the Social Media Lab Live, brought to you by Agorapulse, where our social media scientists experiment on real accounts to crack the code on social media success for your business.
What?
Now your hosts, Scott Ayers.
All right, hey everyone, this is Scott Ayers here with the Social Media Lab Live, powered by Agorapulse, where we bust the myths, the rumors, and the stories of social media marketing with science. Today, it's a strange day. Last week, I did not go live on this show because my guests literally, I don't know, I think the morning of or maybe late in the afternoon said, hey, I can't make it. I'm sick, et cetera, et cetera. So I canceled it. And then this week, this is episode 99, by the way, and Juan, Showtime, almost there. Appreciate you. This is episode 99 of the Social Media Lab Live. And I was really excited to have Eric Sue be my guest today. And Eric, he did not ghost me. And Laria, I appreciate you. I have had a few ghosts, but this was not necessarily a ghost. But I want to kind of talk about what happens when this happens. Eric, we scheduled Eric months ago. Months ago. I've been really excited about talking to him about leveling up in his book and all this stuff. He messaged me yesterday and said, hey, I've got an emergency. I can't make it tomorrow. And I'm like, oh, no. So, do I try to find someone else? Do I not do a show? I don't like not doing a show 2 weeks in a row because you start to lose people. And I already had the show scheduled. I pushed it out. And so I was like, okay, what do I do? And so this morning I just decided I deleted that show that was scheduled for Eric and just right now went impromptu live. And so sometimes I want to test that as well. Sometimes I've found out by going live without scheduling, sometimes I've seen it get pushed up in Facebook Watch. So I'm really curious if that happens or not. It may not. And yeah, I appreciate that, Laria. Congratulations on 99. She says, yeah. It's been 2.5 years since I've been doing this live show on Agorapulse. Taking a few weeks off, of course, here and there. It takes a little bit to get to that 100 mark, and next week will be 100. And I probably need to rethink what next week is. Here's the funny thing: like I saw Ian Anderson Gray do his 100 show, and I was like, huh. I wonder where we're at with Social Media Lab Live. Because if you remember, if we kind of like, you guys who watch Wayne's World to get that joke. If we go back and like see, when the show started, it was like in sometime mid-January of 2019. Owen Video and I started a show together, and of course it catapulted itself really quickly and getting known. And Social Media Marketing World talked about us. Mike Stelzner mentioned us in the opening keynote of his talk, Social Media Marketing World in 2019. And then well, the 2019, yeah, I guess it was 2019. And then, of course, everything just kind of gone from there. I started wearing this. I started showing up like this everywhere. And so it's been, I didn't know if we'd hit it or not. So I went back through and did the tedious task of counting every single live show that I had done for Social Media Lab Live. And we're going to hit 100 tomorrow, next week. And then I'll take a week off. The week after that, I'm going down to the beach in South Padre. And so it's just one of those weird things. Like, okay, 100's a big deal, but at the same time, I mean, there's people like Christian Karasevich with Social Chatters, his show on Social Chefs. He is going to hit 300 in 2 weeks, which freaking blows my mind. I just can't even imagine hitting 300. He's been going live every week for so long. And so, yeah, hitting 100 is going to be a big deal for me. And so next week, I'm probably going to reach out to a lot of people in this next couple of days. Say, hey, can you hop on and just talk? It may be a longer show than normal, but I didn't want to. This is the weird thing. Like, I didn't want to delay. Like, if I didn't go live this week, I feel like it was like, man, 2 weeks in a row is too much. I'm not going live, and I miss it when I don't go live here on this channel here on Agora Pulse, because right now in Agora Pulse, we don't have a lot of live shows going on. We don't have the Social Pulse Weekly going on. We don't have everything. So my show really is the only live show on our channel. And I know, based on how the algorithms work, how it's rewarded based on engagement, that live video tends to always help everything else content-wise on your page. So I can't go 2 weeks. And Dustin, I appreciate that. Huge deal. Huge. It is a big deal. I mean, it's going to happen next week. So I need to have on maybe some old guests, have Owen back on, have other people on who've been on the show and helped us kind of, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now in my career, in my just who people know me speaking at events, which COVID screwed all that up. But I don't think I'd be where I'm at if it wasn't for doing a live video show and doing it in this getup, and doing it with the wig on and the lab coat and all that sort of stuff. And so live video has catapulted that and helped that. And the last year has been rough because of virtual events and nothing live and all those sort of things. So I want to just kind of hop on and go live and just talk to you about, like, what do you do when your guest cancels? Sometimes that happens as a live streamer. Sometimes you've got all these grandiose plans. You've got your run of show done, or ROS, whatever you refer to. You've got it all ready. You've got graphics done. You send emails. You've been tweeting about it. You've been LinkedIn posting about it. And then, like, oh, crap, they cancel. I've seen at least 2 or 3 of us in the industry. I thought Jim Fuse and Chris Stone last week with their Dealcasters live show. They had a big guest, Winnie Sun, and she had to cancel at last minute. They've been publishing it. They've been talking about it. She had to cancel. It just happens. Sometimes just life happens. I've had 3 guests in the last 3 months had to cancel. And it was emergencies. And I believe them 100%. I do not doubt that they were emergencies. I have personally had to cancel at times that were either like I just didn't feel well, my internet crashed, um, I forgot, those kind of things happen. So I've had to cancel myself a couple of times in the last year. And so sometimes as a live video producer, as someone who does interviews as your main show, people cancel. And that happens. So then what do you do? Do you just like don't do a show, which is what I did last week? Or do you try to do a show anyway and be on your own and just like have something prepared? And here's the thing, and this is where I go back to, and I didn't have this one prepared today, to be quite honest with you. Um, I wanted to talk about an experiment that I'm about to publish, but I don't like to talk about experiments until I've published them. The way you can go look at the data. I have a really exciting one about countdown timers on live video that I'm dying to publish, and I'm waiting for that to 100% be buttoned up and edited and all that sort of stuff. Um, and so I'm almost there with that one, but I'm not quite there yet. So I couldn't talk about that today. And so today for me is like, what do you do? What do you do when a guest canceled? I think for me, and especially with a show that it's a weekly show, your audience expects it. They're used to what's going on. They're used to, what they typically might see on your page. I just say you go. I see you go live and you start talking and you see what happens. Here's what I'm a guy who, I can talk to a wall, for an hour and not get anything back from that wall. And I'm okay with that. Not everybody can do that. But for me, I go back to, I went through last year, a year of leadership training at my church. And we talked about leadership as influence and how to be a better leader within our community, in our families, within our church, those sort of things. And we were really pushed by the person leading it to always kind of have a sermon in your pocket, if you will. So for me, when it comes to my life outside of business, I got a sermon in my pocket. If I get called up on stage and have to preach a sermon, I could do it. It wouldn't be real long, but I could do it. I could give you 15, 20 minutes. So I always have that ready. So I think about that with live video. Like it's such a great correlation. Like you got to be ready to talk. You've got to be ready to have something to give value and add value to your audience. So that's what I'm doing today here on this show. My guest could not make it. My backup guest, I tried to switch the two people with. She messaged me this morning. She's like, "Hey, I'd love to be on," because she had to reschedule. Actually, it was funny enough. I reached out to someone who is on in a few weeks or scheduled to be on in a few weeks, and Eric Sue, because hey, I could do that date if you want to do that one, and she had to cancel her date back in like March, and so she's like, "Hey, I can't be on today," but and so that's what I'm going to do today is let's talk about what do you do in the meantime? What do you do when your guest cancels? And of course, I like throwing up a question today. What's your favorite sports team? We're like in the weird. Here's a weird thing about June, late June, is we've got basketball going on. We've got hockey going on. There's baseball going on. We got Olympic trials going on. There's so many different things right now going on. We got training camps about to start with the NFL. It's a great time if you're a sports fan. So I'm curious to know if you happen to see this on the replay, let me know what your favorite sports team is. I would love to know that. So what do you do when your guest cancels? You have a lot of options here. And like I can see right now, I don't have a lot of viewers, and I was really hoping it would push up because of Facebook Watch, and I'm always loving testing this. If you know anything about me and when it comes to the Social Media Lab Live is I want to test things. We saw a year ago, anytime I went live without scheduling it, like I got thrown into a weird thing at about 20 minutes in, and we're about to hit that mark. We're at 15 minutes right now. We got thrown into Facebook Watch, and I got tons of spam comments and weird stuff, and a lot of people falling into it. And Dustin says, test all the things. Yeah, I think you do test everything. And that's really what it is all about. I think, and then you do just test it, see if it works. Sometimes it's like a want, and it fails. And, oh, well, people saw you fail. It is what it is, right? At least you tried. And that's what this show today is I'm trying. I want to see what happens. I'm really curious if I go long enough into the show, if Facebook Watch picks it up and gets it into their algorithm. I know based on my studies that the average live show sees their peak viewers at about 18 minutes. And that's a part of the study that I'm playing on right now. It's about 7 different live shows. Is we see it about 18 minutes. You hit your peak live viewers, and then everything's kind of an up and down roller coaster from there. So I'm really curious to see if Facebook Watch picks up the show, because I did not schedule this show. I just pushed a button, and as Brian Fanzo says, just pushed the damn button, and then I went live. But what do you do when your guest doesn't show up? I think you need to think about a few things. One is have an idea in your head often about, okay, if my guest doesn't show up, do I have something I can talk about for 20, 30 minutes? And at least give my audience a show who's used to it. Because I think once you fall off too much, the algorithm starts to punish you a little bit, because you haven't been live consistently. And it's like, who the heck are you? Why should anybody even see you? So have something in your brain to think about. Like, I was editing podcasts yesterday. I'm going through right now all of the previous live shows that I've had here on Social Media Lab Live. Like I said, this is 99 today. And I've been going through, and I've created a new podcast. You can find those blog posts with the podcast associated at socialmedialab.live, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for Social Media Lab Live, and you'll find those. But I was editing a podcast yesterday. Like the last one I edited yesterday at about 5 p.m. Was in an episode where my guest didn't show up. They messaged me literally like 5 minutes before the show and said, I've got an emergency. And this individual, has a disability and had a real emergency and had to go to the hospital, which, he's fine. But I went, okay, do I cancel? Do I not? And the subject was on the mastering the art of public speaking. And so I already had the questions ready. I was going to ask him, and I went, why not? Let's go live. And so I went live, and I talked for like 50 minutes all about the mastering the art of public speaking. And based on my experiences of speaking at live events in person and virtual events and live video shows. And it was a great, I really enjoyed the live video, and I think the podcast and the blog post will do people well down the road. So you can find that at socialmedialab.live. I see someone here said, hi, Scott, and I don't know who you are. It says Facebook user. If you look at the details of the description, you'll see a link to click that gives Restream permission to pull in your name. If you could click on that, that would be fantastic, so I could see your name, because I want to call you out. I don't know who you are right now, because I'm only watching inside of Restream's live studio right at the particular moment. So let me, so if you're just hopping over here right now, I'm hopping in, and my guest today was Eric Sue. Eric is well known. I listen to his podcast religiously. The marketingschool.io. It's a daily podcast with him and Neil Patel. It's super quick, like 6-7 minutes. I listen at 2x speed, and I fast forward to the commercial, so it's on like 3 minutes for me, and I absorb a lot from them. We're going to talk about his book and talk about everything, so I'll delay him for a few weeks. I'll probably bring him back on July 21st is my goal right now. But, sometimes it happens. Sometimes your guest just can't make it. You've already publicized it. I hadn't emailed this one, which I meant to, but I didn't. And so I was like, oh, well, okay. Good thing I didn't, so I didn't have to worry about people who'd found that link. So I just deleted that post on all the socials that it was scheduled for. And then I just kind of did this one really fast and talk about what happens when your live guest ghosts you. I've had live guests ghost me completely, like Eric, and the last two guests who canceled did not ghost me. Just kind of put that out there. Did not ghost me. But I have had other guests just not say a word. Like they booked months before. Like the problem I have right now with the Social Media Lab Live, and I guess I don't know, I'd say it's a problem. The beauty of the Social Media Lab Live show is people want to be on the show, and I am booked now through almost mid to late October of 2021, and this is June 30th. So 3 months to 4 months out, I'm booked. And so sometimes people just forget. They don't look at their calendars. I use Calendly to remind people about my show. And sometimes they don't see the reminder. And so I have had guests ghost me. So here's a couple of tips that I want to give you. And Deb, appreciate you hopping on over here. Is have something in the plans. Always think about, what if my guest doesn't show up for my live video and I'm 2 minutes till? What do I do? Have something in your pocket. Just like I mentioned earlier, I literally, if and I'm a big, I don't want to talk religion, but church and my church life is my most important thing to do other than my family. And I've dived deeply into that over the last 10, 15 years. And so if my church said, hey, I need you to preach a sermon, I'd hop up and I'd have a sermon and I'd preach for 20 minutes and I'd be done. I've got it in my pocket. I know what it would be. So think about that with live video. Like think about, like, do you have something you can talk about during your live video? Can you talk about a product you love? Can you talk about a tactic that you are into regardless of your market? Let's say you're a realtor and you're like, okay, my guest did not show up today. What do I do now? And so then you go, all right, well, I know I can talk about 3 tips for a last minute open house. So just talk about that. And you'll find if you've got a good audience and you're going live every week, people will kind of keep you going and help you typically throughout the conversation. So I would challenge you, if your guest can't show up, either it's an emergency or they just ghost you. And again, Eric Sue did not ghost me. You can feel free to mention him on Twitter and ask him. He actually talked to me yesterday, and we've talked again this morning. He didn't ghost me, had an emergency. But those situations come into play. So think about that. Like, what can you always have ready just in case? So think about those different topics that you can do. Maybe you do a trivia show. Like right now, I have a trivia show that I could do right now for this live video if I felt like we had enough live viewers. I do not think we have enough live viewers to really pull it off. At this particular instance, I see where a few are watching in a couple of places, but I wouldn't want to pull it off and not get any input on it. So like maybe you have some trivia questions. Maybe you say, hey, I'm gonna do a giveaway show. Maybe I'm going to do a demo show. Like I go live on Amazon Live once or twice a week. And sometimes I have something planned. Most of the time I don't. And sometimes it's like the comments just come in and say, hey, can you talk about your microphone? And I just talk about my microphone for 10, 15 minutes or whatever. So just kind of always be ready to talk about something that you feel comfortable with. But always like, I do this every week. This is a funny thing here with my live show. And I use Restream. And if you have not tried out Restream, go over to restreamlive.com, sign up. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything to get going. You're going to want to pay for it once you get going. But in my, they have in their live studio, they have captions. I use captions as a run of show. These days, I don't create a separate spreadsheet anymore for my run of show and plan it out. I just write it all out in the captions. And I don't mind even showing you. I don't know if I can actually. Well, I already got another screen pulled up. But I always have in my, I will show you. Let's do this. In my live studio, and this is going to be very weird looking for like a nanosecond here. But you'll see over here on the right hand side, I always have trivia questions ready to ask you on my live video shows. I've got 3 that I could ask. One of them got, man, where'd the other one go? Should be 3 in there. Yeah, there's 3. So I've got 3 trivia questions always ready. The reason I do that is I want to, if I have nothing to talk about, I'm gonna hop into a trivia show. And I've even had, I have another screen pulled up right now. Let me show you this. I have another screen pulled up, and it's always, I mean, it's a Chrome tab that I have bookmarked. I always have this ready. I can always do a trivia. I can throw the questions up on the screen, and then I could enter in, like, whoever answered it correctly. We'll put Dave, Bob, Susie, Deb. And so I've always have this ready. Like, you don't see this behind the scenes from me, but I always just have this ready just in case my live guest doesn't show up. I've got this little, it's willofnames.com. Laria Petrucci, I think, is the one who was using this once in one of her live videos. And I'm just like, oh, this is so cool. So I've always got this ready to show. And anytime that I just want to do a trivia, I do a trivia question, and then I click on it, and my head will spin around. And depending on how long I gave it, which I think I gave this one a minute, I could choose a winner from a live trivia question. And because I know, like, in my shows in particular, live trivia has always done very well for me. And I also know that trivia questions, and no one's going to win anything from this, by the way. Now, granted, if Deb did, maybe it'd be funny to give Deb something, but Dave, Bob, and Susie are fake people. But I know from my experience on this particular show and my live stream lab show, which is now the science of social media, the science of live streaming on a Restream. Deb is gonna be the one who wins in this little round. That's pretty funny, Deb. Deb is our community manager at Agora Pulse. Like, it's gonna pop it. It's gonna take him forever. It's still moving. It's still moving. It's gonna slow down. Come on. Can I win swag? Sure, Deb. I'll give you. I mean, I should send you a wig. At this point, that was pretty funny that it worked out that way. You're the only real person that was commenting on it. Yeah, you won nothing. He won the applause. You won that. But here's the thing, and the point I want to make there is as a live streamer, sometimes things happen. Sometimes your guest can't show up. Sometimes their internet just fails them. And sometimes they just don't respond. And you're like, oh no, it's 5 minutes before I go live. What do I do? Have something ready. Have a topic ready. Have some sort of idea ready. I always have trivia ready. So, like, right now, if we had a lot of live viewers, and we don't right now, I really thought Facebook Watch would maybe kick this up. That's an interesting algorithm change to note, that Facebook Watch is not picking up unscheduled live videos like they used to do a year ago. That's kind of a wah and a little bit of a but have something ready. I like having trivia ready because I know it's done well for me, in the past, and it is something that I would always. Deb says, "Have a sidekick jump in the comments." Sure. Like, I did a show not too long ago where I just put out the live video link for anyone to hop on live, and it was scary, but it was fun at the same time. But if you get in a situation as a live streamer and your guest just does not show up, you gotta have something ready, because I think if you go too long, if you go, like, I'm not gonna go live for like 3 or 4 weeks, well, your people, it's crickets. People aren't gonna hear from you anymore. They're not gonna know who you are anymore. And so you want to kind of continue to tease the algorithm, play with the algorithm, and still go live and talk about something. Give value about something, and hopefully I've given you some value here in 34 minutes that I've been talking, or well, 31 minutes, I guess I've been talking. So if your guest doesn't show up, here are my couple of recommendations. Just kind of in summary: have something always ready. Keep something in your back pocket that you know you can go live on right now and talk about. A passion of yours, something you really know well. Just keep that to yourself. Don't put it out there yet. Hold on to it. Okay. Otherwise, like, just have group interaction, have interaction with the audience, have trivia questions, have a ask me anything, sort of segment in your live show. Do a demo of your product. Do take people around. If you're brick and mortar, grab your phone and just walk around your location and talk about what's going on. Or even if you're in, like for me, let's say, let me stop this over here so that shows it better. I could do like, hey, I could do a demo on my setup. And so, oh, that was the wrong camera. So I could do like, hey, I could do a demo on my live stream setup. Here's my MacBook, here's my 2 monitors, here's my Logitech Brio, here's my Stream Deck. Oh, what's a Stream Deck? Well, let's talk about that for 20 minutes. There's my USB-C, tower I use, and HDMI for plugs in my MacBook. There's my Behringer mixer. Think about those. Like, what can you do? What do you know? Because you know a lot more than you think you do. What do you know that you could just immediately start talking about and make a live show out of it? Because you don't know most of the time on live videos, especially right now in late June, we're like 1 day left in June, right? Is it the last day? Do y'all do this? I'm 46 years old and I still do this. So to figure out how many days in the month there are, I go January, February, March, April, May, June. So I know, because June is in the valley of my knuckles. June only has 30 days. So today is the last day of June. I don't know if anybody else does that or not. July is 30. So if you don't know that trick, I just taught you something. January has 31 days. February is less than 31 days. It's 28 or 29. March has 31. April has 30. May has 31. June has 30. July has 31. August, come back to the beginning, is 31. September, October, November, December. A fun little trick there. And Deb says that is way complicated. No, it's not. I mean, look at your knuckles. The high parts are always 31 days on the months. The low parts are they're always going to be less than 31, but February is the only one that's weird. The rest of them are 30. So I learned that as a kid, and back in the 70s, and it's been something I always do. But my point was, think of something that you know and just talk about in your live video. Like right now, I switched to another camera. I could show off my equipment. I could talk about my setup. I could talk about all the things I do and talk about, like, what is this little deal here in front of me? It's a Stream Deck I'm using through Loopback, blah, 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 blah. And talk about those things. So always just have ideas and things that you can do on your live video that you can keep people talking on. I was kind of bummed that we really didn't get picked up in the Facebook Watch today. I was really hoping that is what would happen, but it didn't happen, and it's a great test. Like, I've tested this now 3-4 times in the on live shows through a couple of pages just to see if it still happened. It's not happening anymore, so it's no longer a strategy I would recommend. So don't depend on that. You should schedule your show so you can let people know you're going to go live. You can email about it, Facebook chat about it, et cetera, et cetera. But if your guest ghosts you or just can't show up at the last minute, have some things prepared. Have a subject matter you can talk about for a little bit. Keep the show going, because here's what happens. And I've done this with podcasts. I had a podcast for off and on for about 3 years called Social Media Buzz, and I talked about news and social media marketing. I also had one called Facebook Answer Man, and talked about stuff with Facebook. And I would get where I would go weeks and weeks without doing it, and I'd forget. I'm like, oh, I didn't go live today, or I didn't do a podcast today. Oh, I didn't do a podcast this week. Oh, I'll do it next week. And then like a month goes by, 2 months go by, 6 months go by, and it's gone. And people have forgotten about it, and it's crushed those accounts. And so my challenge to you and my challenge to myself is, just because someone doesn't show up, still go live, still talk to your audience, still put it out there in the universe, and just see what happens. So that's it for this week's episode number 99. It was 99 today. A weird one for me. Episode 99 of the Social Media Lab Live. If you want to, I'm trying to find it. If you want to see everything we were doing here at the Social Media Lab, go over to agorapulselab.com. Hopefully that link is working today. It gave me some fits earlier today. If that doesn't work for you, go to socialmedialab.live, and you can see the podcasts that just are live associated, and you can go to that. I'll be back next week with episode 100. I do not know what I'll do on episode 100. I've actually cleared my calendar, canceled my guest, and I'm hoping to just bring on some people and have some fun, and maybe do some giveaways and play around a little bit with live streaming. I will see you next week. I appreciate you, Deb, and everybody else who watched live. Replay viewers, I love you as well. See ya.